Welcome back to this week's Master Coaches Wednesday Weekly Buzz. I'm Bob Bertucci, joined by fellow Master Coaches Kathy George, Bill Walton, and Mick Haley. Mick, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you so you can introduce our first guest today.
Hey, Bob, thank you. My pleasure. We have Jamie Morrison on, the new head coach at Texas A&M. Jamie, welcome. I'm going to run through your history here, but you and I hooked up about 2003 at USC. You had been living up in Santa Barbara, gone to school there, and we're trying to figure out whether you were going to go into coaching or into business, I believe. And you came down and helped us out for a year or so. We really appreciated that. And that's 20 years ago. And boy, this last 20 years, let me just run through real quick what you've been doing and get after me if I missed something. But from SC, you jumped into the community there in Southern California, did some club work, worked with UC Irvine, worked with Concordia, got in the USA gym. They liked you a lot in the USA gym, and they kept giving you more and more things to the point that they finally hired you full time. You were coaching with Hugh McCutcheon and Karch Karai in that period. I think that's somewhere between 2005 and 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty close. And then you decided to broaden your wings. You got an opportunity to work some international club ball where you assisted in Turkey on two really good teams that I'm aware of over there. Then a big chance to become an international head coach of the Netherlands national team, which you did a really good job there. Came back to the United States, had an opportunity to become the sports performance director for the new pro league, League One, which is opening in 2024. I've been doing a lot of work with the clubs that they've purchased. And now with the A&M opportunity opening and you starting a family, you become the head coach at Texas A&M. Wow. In 20 years, you've not been sitting around. There's no grass growing under your feet. Amazing. Amazing.
I love to stay busy.
Yeah, that's kind of a whirlwind. So you keep trying to improve yourself. You keep getting better. Tell us a little bit about how you put together a staff at A&M. You've got two people that I know of that you've hired, but maybe there's more. I think, are you allowed to hire 3 assistants now?
Yeah, the rule's going on through on July 1st. So where we're allowed to start paying somebody. So I'm in an interesting spot where right now it's a volunteer position, but starting on July 1st, it'll be a fairly well-paid position. So
well, who have you hired? Who have you hired?
Yeah.
And how did you go about that? And what are the things you need? People that are thinking about maybe taking a new job or becoming a head coach. Tell us how that process goes.
Yeah, I think for me, it was looking at a few things. One, it was people that I trusted to have my back and to do their job without me looking at them was one of them. A big one for me was filling my holes of, I believe I'm one of the best trainers of the game in the United States. I believe if I get a recruit on the phone, I can share the message of what we're going on, but the mechanics of recruiting, I knew I needed somebody great there. And I'd asked around the community just for 2 or 3 years previous to me taking this job about who people thought were the best out there. Connecting to athletes about making the experience unique. Lindsey Gray Walton's name came up over and over again. So another big piece for me is I think only people that have sat in the chair of being a head coach understand the weight that comes along with that. And it's nice having somebody to lean on that's been there, that understands everything that goes along with it. And I thought for me, I was the best version of myself as an assistant after I came back from being overseas and coaching as a head coach one year and being like, man, that's what it's like. I'm here to take some of this weight away from the person that's there. So I think that was really important. I think hiring good people. I think hiring good role models, for me especially, just good female role models for what that should look like in terms of being a badass female that's going to grow up to do something great in life. And then also another one that was important for me in hiring was just people that were connected to the school. There was a lot of tradition, a lot of pride that comes with Texas A&M. And I wanted people that knew that to, one, educate me, but also share that to people around the country. So I hired Jen Woods, who's someone that I trusted just after working in the club world, who developed one of the more successful club organizations and businesses. And I think it's a valuable thing. I think when you're dealing with college athletics, it's about building a brand, about building an organization, not just building a team. So I thought that was really important. And again, someone I trusted, someone that was a good role model. And then filled in around that, I kept Evan Antal on, who was the tech coordinator here, who's just a quality human being and really good at his job. And then brought another alumni back in Ashley Reeser as our director of operations from Michigan. So have an amazing group of people. And I thought it would mesh well, but just we're out to our first dinner on our first official visit. And I'm like, man, this is going to be fun with this group of people. So I think it's really important when you're putting a staff together, you get to choose the people that you're going to spend life with, of making sure they're people you're going to enjoy.
Is that Reveille on your chest there?
It is. It is. My daughter is infatuated with Reveille, so I have to wear the sweatshirt. She will literally like put her hand and pet. It's the cutest thing in the world. I can't wait until she actually meets Reveille.
You know, when I was at Texas,
I have nightmares of Reveille.
Yeah. When I was at Texas, I went over to A&M to play, and they put Reveille right behind my bench. And when
he barked the whole time.
No, but so smart that I am, I brought a box of dog biscuits.
Oh, that's so
and
smart.
I kept flipping them under the
played
bench.
the game well.
I did not
and
think of
everybody
that.
got irritated at Reveille because he wasn't barking at me. He was eating biscuits the whole time.
A fun little fact: if Reveille barks in your class, class is dismissed.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got it going. You know a lot of things about A&M right now. So let's go to another really important thing. You get a conference schedule. You can't say anything about that. You just got to execute it. But with RPI and all of this stuff, and you're a new coach, and you haven't even been there more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you've got to put together a preseason schedule. How do you do that? And what kind of problems or good things have you come up with your preseason schedule? I don't say preseason, but your schedule before your conference starts.
Yeah. No, it's part of your schedule. And I think it's really, really important. And I think Mick knows this, but I like to know things about everything. So even though I haven't been in college athletics, like I just want to understand how mechanics work. So I've actually been consulting with some other teams in college on scheduling for 4 or 5 years now. And just, I think the thing that I look at is teams that are going to help your RPI that have consistently done it for years. And I think the common misconception is if a team has a high RPI, that's the best team to play because they're going to help your RPI. And it's just not the way that formula works. So really kind of looking through teams that you can beat that are going to help you the most. And we actually just finished up about 3 days ago. So Jen Woods was in charge of doing that for us. I'll give her a huge pat on the back publicly right now. But I'm really fired up about our schedule. And I think the thing that's also starting to change is the play date situation of starting to worry about athlete wear and tear. And maybe not playing 2 matches in one day. So we're playing around with some weekends playing twice, some weekends playing 3 times, but maybe playing on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and trying to limit the wear and tear a little bit more on our athletes. But like where I'm worked out about as well, I thought we'd be a huge disadvantage getting hired late in the season. I think people are starting to do this earlier and earlier, but we got a pretty good schedule that we're excited about.
So give us a couple names of teams that you think are big draws coming to A&M. I loved your tournament last fall that A&M had, where I got to see Hawaii, I got to see University of San Diego, and I got to see Pittsburgh. Unbelievable tournament the way it turned out in Final Four. 2 of those teams in the Final Four. What's it look like this year?
Yeah, so I think coming to here, that would be exciting. We're playing University of Houston. Just from down the road, made the Sweet 16 last year and almost made the Elite 8 if I remember correctly. And making the move to the Big 12. I think they're going to do a good job. I think David's doing a really good job down with that program. So that's one of the tournaments. They're coming in with Liberty the last weekend. I think I'm allowed to say this and ruin some of the hype. But and then the other weekend, again, going for RPI teams that I'm excited about opportunity. But we're have a return with TCU. Jason did a good job with them last year, and again, getting them into the tournament. And I think they're a team on the rise. Have Melanie Parr coming from Texas, and I think they'll be a really, really good team to play in that tournament. Northern Iowa, just good friends with people out there too, and having that team out here. And I'm actually forgetting the 3rd team that we have coming in. But again, trying to bring in teams that'll help this group make the tournament further on down in the year. So, and then we'll be traveling for 2 other weekends.
All right.
Nick, can I
Travis
interrupt you
Kirby.
for a minute? Could I interrupt you just for 1 second?
Sure.
Just, Jamie, you mentioned that because of the change in the rules, you might not play 2 matches in a day. Could you explain to people what the change in the rules are, just so that doesn't go over everybody's head?
Yeah, so before there was a lower number that you were allowed to kind of get in here in terms of dates, and now it's just play dates. So there's 30 dates that you're allowed to play throughout the year. So with that, you can spread out your schedule a little bit more, and you're seeing, especially some of the bigger teams, the bigger conferences that maybe have some more money to charter, are flying out and not necessarily playing 30 matches in the year, but playing something like 26, or trying to spread those out a little bit more and play on multiple days instead of trying to pack 3 matches into 2 days so it counts as kind of 2 days. You can now spread that out a little bit wider. So I like that they did it. The one thing that we're trying to balance is not spending too much time away from school, is the one kind of counterbalance to that. But just the pounding that athletes were taking by playing 2 matches in 1 day at that intensity was a little bit too much.
Kathy thought 3 a day was not enough. She wanted to play 4 and 5.
We're talking old school players, right? So, no. But I
Okay, one
agree.
curveball coming your way. Texas and Oklahoma come in 24, I believe.
Yep.
You got any idea what this schedule looks like? Is this going to be a single round robin with a tournament? Is it going to be 2 groups of 8? Oh, and Vanderbilt to give you a total of 16 teams in the SEC. You given any thought to that?
Yeah, there's some talks going on right now. I think they actually just came to a conclusion last week, and I think they want a little hype around that. So I think there should be an announcement sometime soon. But I don't want to spoil their surprise. But yeah, there's some plans coming into effect here that are coming down the pipe.
We're a news show, so we're just going to pass this along. Hey, the news is coming out next week, folks.
I don't know if it's next week, but there will be something coming out about doing things a little bit differently than some other conferences.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to turn
I'll
Kathy
save
loose.
you before he keeps probing in these things that. So,
You go, Kathy. I know you're going to probe a little bit too. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
have at it.
absolutely. Well, first of all, Jamie, congratulations. Very excited for you and your family making this move. So always enjoyed seeing you in so many different places. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about, I mean, you're talking about scheduling, you have that kind of underway, you have your staff. Talk to me then about your roster and your team. And first of all, how did you meet them? Tell me when you first met them. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I think for those in this room, they've been hired, and that first day is a whirlwind. So it was getting on a Zoom phone call. Just with technology these days, I was at convention. They were all around the country for Christmas break. And I thought I was actually scattered. Like I actually asked for a mulligan on our first meeting about 2 weeks later, where it was like, all right, here's who we're going to be about. But it was Zoom, and then I think it was a bunch of follow-up individuals Zoom conversations. So I'm big on relationships and even the one-on-one versions of that. So all virtual until I don't know, the first day of school when people were cycling through the office. So it was a little bit interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, you know how hard it is. And, you're meeting all these people and you're trying to get an idea, they're probably a little nervous about you. Does he want me here? Does he not want me here? How have you dealt with that anxiety that you can imagine is there? And tell us about that process. And then really, how are you assessing the players you have and what you look to do in the future to build the kind of roster that you need?
Yep. Yeah. I just said I'm big on personal relationships. So for me, it was really calling one-on-one and making sure I got to know each athlete, kind of who they were and what made them tick, and what they wanted to do with volleyball, with their future, and kind of understand where they were going. And I think there's some coaches that come in and like, I'm going to wipe the slate clean. And I didn't know who was here. I didn't know who was here from a volleyball standpoint. I didn't know who was here from a person standpoint. So it's been really about getting to know them and then making some decisions about where we're going kind of in the future with it. But I'm impressed with some of the skill that's here. I'm impressed with some of the people that are here. And it's been a fun journey getting to know them as time goes on.
You've had a couple practices now, you've been able to kind of see where you're at, what maybe holes you might need to fill. What do you think about projecting that? I mean, do you have spots, scholarships available, or where are you at?
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Just I took the job, and I think when you see a lot of these with the way the transfer portal's working, you get this mass exodus if they're leaving. And I got the job, and everybody that was, on board to stay, there were 3 transfers that I think were going to happen regardless, that happened right after the season. But nobody transferred. So we have 3 freshmen that are here early, which has been awesome, trying to build around them as we're here. So we actually have 16 people.
Mid-semester or mid-year.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
so we have 16 people in the gym right now. And so we're full trying to make this group as good as they can be, with trying to add some pieces. I think in the near term future, to get this to being a tournament team next year. The team set the goal of that, and I really truly believe it can happen in the short term rather than a 4-year build like it used to be.
So you're thinking mostly like you've got the roster you need, you're going to train hard and then make further decisions as you go.
Yeah, we'll make further decisions as we go, and we'll talk to the team about that. So it's not news to them, I think. And then again, if something's available that's out there, and we've already had one transfer that came in through the portal during this last window, we'll make the decision. But I don't want to, I don't know, again, clean slate of this when I think we do have good people ongoing, unless there's something that's going to make a huge difference to this program.
That's awesome. So when you look at a player, like what are the top 2 or 3 qualities that you're looking for in a player, and I know.
Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah. I think all around ability, if I were to go on the court, all around ability to play the game. I really want really good volleyball players. And if I could, my goal is to get these players to go be able to play international volleyball. Like I would love people that are able to play the whole game so that they could go do that. And then from I don't know, human being standpoint, like a good human that wants to connect with the people around them and put in effort to relationships, I think is number 1 for me. I think good teams take work. So just that work ethic to kind of go in and make connections with people is really, really important. And then the second piece of it there is I like my players to be a little feisty, to get after the opponent a little bit, whether that be in practice after the opponent or on the court after an opponent. But I want people that are going to go out and fight and I don't know, show people who they are. And I guess the other one too is just I like authentic human beings. Yeah. It's one of the things that we really try to do in our program, that I've done with the U19 national team, with club programs and everything, is get people to understand who they are, and then get them comfortable letting the world see who that is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you just ripped right through my questions there, but it's a great, I haven't put them to the, got to give you something tougher than that.
That's good, Kathy, because Nick took so much time. We got to rip.
I know we have to hurry up because he was, Anyway, but no, nice thought process. It's good to see that you're kind of on top of things in a short amount of time and thought through. So congratulations with all that. And with that, I pass it on to, I think, Bob Bertucci. Are you next?
Yeah, I really want to jump into the NIL, Jamie, and an area that's relatively new for all coaches. All right, but even more so for you, coming from the international game, just getting into the college game right now. What does Texas A&M NIL involvement look like? Yeah,
one of the biggest reasons why, not one of the biggest, one of the reasons that I wanted this job was the support that comes from the 12th man. That's both the crowd getting on an opponent and getting a little feisty there. That fits my personality. And then the second piece is just the 12th Man Foundation and the financial support that the alumni feel like they're going to give back to this program. And I think the thing that I love about this program is, or this school, is just you're always an Aggie. You're not allowed to say former Aggie. It's people that have been a part of this program feel like they're a part of it for life, and they give back to that. So there are some NIL opportunities. I think there's some coaches just in the world with the portal, with NIL, that they're bearing their head and saying, hey, I wish it was the way it was, and it's just not going to be anymore. So we're going to embrace that and do as much as we can with it. I want to do it differently. I don't want our players to go through this, get NIL, I don't know, money in any way, shape, or form and feel entitled by it. I want them to have to work for it. And then the second piece that I want to do a lot of is do some education on financial literacy. And for me, I have this love-hate relationship with NIL. I love that our athletes are able to get a nest egg that maybe they're going to be able to do something with when they're done. I hate it because it's, I don't know, teaching some young athletes that, hey, this is the way it's going to be, that you're going to be maybe, I'm hopefully everybody's working for this, but I think in some of these examples in football and some other things, it's here's this money. And I don't know, 1% of these athletes, maybe less, are going to go pro and be able to sustain that livelihood. And a lot of them are going to have to go out and take a job for 50, 60 hours a week, making $40,000 to $60,000 a year. And just, how is that going to go when all of a sudden you have to work, I don't know, 5 times harder for that money than you've ever had to do in your life? So again, trying to make sure that our athletes are appreciating where it's coming from, that they know what to do with it, that's going to set them up for a successful future. Really, really important to us.
And so you see that at A&M, the NIL is going to be a positive thing for volleyball.
I think so. Yeah, I'm fighting for that and making sure that. And again, I don't not want to tease everything, but I'm not allowed. There's some exciting stuff going on with that here at A&M in the next couple of weeks too. So, and doing some things in some unique ways, in my opinion. So, I'm really, really even more excited than when I took the job in the support. More excited right now about what's coming.
Maybe we should have had you 2 weeks later.
Yeah, maybe I'll come back and be like, hey, all that stuff I was teasing
really?
about, here's what's going on.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, it sounds like there's a collective that's part of Texas A&M, but how about NIL collectives outside of the university? I mean, I've heard rumor that A&M has a war chest of $100 million in one of their collectives.
I think there's a lot of rumors out there. There is a collective. It's not $100 million. The interesting thing, it was so amplified by everybody that every other school, they felt they had to catch up to some crazy number. And all of a sudden, every other school, now we're having to catch up there. So there is a collective out there. It does have money. They are interested in getting involved in volleyball. But again, it's something that I think, obviously, I can't have the exact say in what happens, but there's stuff available.
All right, Bill, I know you have one question at least for Jamie, and I'm going to go ahead and get Erin in, our next guest.
Perfect. So what do you got?
Bill, I think you're muted.
I am muted. Thank you. I am muted. So what I've got is I came to this show because I was the original researcher on corporations buying up clubs and what I called the McDonaldization of club volleyball, going from family diners to corporate-owned diners, following Bain Capital, who took over cheerleading and then got sued in 2019 for monopolies. And so a Bain Capital graduate is running LOVB. And so that's how I kind of got onto the show. So my question to you comes from the LOVB side. You go from volunteer at Texas to Skyline 17s, and then you become the LOVB technical coordinator for all their professional clubs. And if you follow Instagram, we see you all over the country with all those clubs doing training. And now suddenly, bam, you're gone and you're at A&M. Are you going to be completely separate from LOVB or? And then secondly, how did you decide to move from such a, critical thing, the onset of pro women's volleyball in this country, back to college? Although John Cook has said the biggest pro league in the country is women's college volleyball. So maybe you haven't, maybe you haven't left pro volleyball.
No, one, I know the optics of Bain and everything that goes along with that. It makes it seem like it's a money grab, and it's absolutely not. And the reason why I was at Love is because I truly believed in the mission, and that was really trying to build a string from these players when they're 12 to giving them something to go to, whether it be playing professionally or increasing opportunities for sports agents, for I don't know, having a club director be an option to go to, recruiting coordinators, and creating these positions within the sport that weren't there for volleyball players if they wanted to get into sports business. So I do truly believe in the people that are there. The hardest thing was leaving them. And for me, the biggest thing was I was coaching the U19 national team. I was doing club, and the club and Love happened at the same time. Those two things were intertwined. But I always felt like I kind of got my toe dipped into this thing of coaching. And I thought when I got let go in the Netherlands, like I really learned some lessons that made me 3 times the coach that I was then. And I feel like 1, I was put on this planet to coach volleyball. And then 2, I felt like I have unfinished business in the sport. And I always express it like I feel like I have a masterpiece inside of me that needs to get out on a canvas. And coaching a team for 2 days a week in club or coaching a U19 national team for 2 weeks, like the results were there. The U19 national team, I don't think a team scored over 19 points on us. And I was constantly asking, what if I had more time? What if I had 4 years with an athlete to develop them into a volleyball player, into a human being? What could happen then? And for me, the biggest thing was we decided I wasn't being fulfilled. My cup wasn't being filled up when I was doing what I was doing, just because it wasn't what I was put on this planet to do. And 2, I have unfinished business. And so that was the impetus between me or before me to me coming back to college volleyball, was me needing to let that out of me. And I don't know, maybe one day, 20 years down the road, I'll go back doing the sports business thing. I will stay involved in some way, shape, or form, or figuring out what that can be to Love. And be a resource for them. But I feel like this is the thing I was put on the planet to do, and I have a masterpiece to create here at Texas A&M.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
All right, Jamie, I think you know our next guest. You can see her
I
over
do.
there, huh? Yes, you do.
Hi.
Yeah. What's up, BB?
Hi.
We have,
Jamie, I
we
wanted
have a
to
new
thank
coaches
you.
cohort.
I know you have to go. You're going to go to practice. I wanted to thank you for coming back on. You've been a great guest on the show. It's been pretty eye-opening to see what you guys have to go through now to be a head coach at a Division I program. So we're going to follow you very closely. Make sure you get those early season tournaments at home good, because I'd like to drive over and watch you play.
Cool.
And good luck from all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be back in 2 weeks to
Jamie.
fill you in on everything.
Okay, yeah. We'll take you up
All right.
on that. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
Talk to
Jamie.
you guys later. Have fun.
Hi,
Indeed.
Jamie.
Bye, guys.
Gig 'em.
Well, we're so excited to see you next, Erin. This is awesome. And I get the privilege of introducing you. And, it's been a while, but I can tell you that we have something in common here. Bill Walton and I recruited you out of high school, and you turned
Yep.
both of us down.
That's right.
And
And I turned
Oh.
Michigan down. So
oh my
it's,
gosh, you
shows
turned
how
us all
smart
down.
I
You were-
was.
Oh my goodness gracious. So
Well,
anyway,
you
was
better
it
talk about
Mike Hebert?
recruiting then.
Was it Mike Hebert, or who was coaching there at the time? I can't.
No, at Michigan was Mark.
No, I mean, at Illinois when you went there.
Oh, Don Harden.
It was Don Harden.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Try to always remember where that's all at. But
Yeah, exactly.
anyway, well, I want to give everybody a little rundown of you and, what you've been up to since playing at Illinois. But you went on to play with the national team, and let me know if I forget something, but
Okay.
you coached at Loyola Chicago, Cincinnati, Michigan, all as assistant coaches, right? And in the
Yep.
Michigan, you had a Final Four, which you beat us in the Sweet 16.
Right.
Didn't like that. But anyway, you had several Sweet 16s and numerous All-Americans before you went on to be the associate head coach at Northwestern. And then you kind of turned it to getting into warm weather over there in Anaheim and being the USA offensive coordinator for USA Volleyball and the national team development program coordinator, which basically you've done a lot to develop that, because before that it hadn't been quite pulled together. And it seems like you've done a wonderful job with all of that. So
Thank
you've been a
you.
busy girl.
Yeah, definitely a busy girl. And a lot of people don't always know, like the last 2 roles I was in was with our national team through the Tokyo Olympics,
Right.
and then working on that staff, but then directing this new program that, many
Yeah.
people refer to it as it used to be high performance. And then
Mhm.
we really transformed a lot of things into what is now the National Team Development Program. So super excited about the road that's on, and it's got amazing leadership. The succession of my departure was something that we were planning and looking at really closely, and there's amazing people behind it. So,
And did you hire somebody in there, or is somebody coming in?
so they're working on what that looks like. My hope is we have an amazing person, Chris Berzins, in the indoor space, and Gabby Garbato in the beach space, and just to let them do and get out of their way and let them kind of keep leading. And they're amazing. And we have the sitting NTDP is quite small, but Elliot Blake runs that for USA. And so I was overseeing all of that. So I'm just trying to kind of I'm now out of their way and allow them to really be great in their spaces. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, good, really good job of pulling that all together and getting the continuity that, needed to be there. But also, I forgot to say, congratulations on the gold medal, because that's pretty awesome.
Oh, thanks.
So-
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the little staff one is hanging in my office, and just get to, remember that team. And it's a pretty incredible memory for
Special
sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're on this new adventure, and you've got you got a lot to do, right? So
Yep.
I know that I'm going to start talking to you about your staff, and I know that you added Dan Polakowski and Coley, his wife, and as your director of ops. So you have those 2 people hired.
Yep.
Any announcements on anybody new? Are we getting anything? From
Yeah, soon. Hopefully in the next week or so, I'll be able to announce our other associate head coach, assistant, the other position on my staff.
Mhm.
And then we'll have a performance analyst, and, like I know we'll talk about 2, but just our 3rd assistant. And so I have 3 more people to bring on board. But really exciting going through the conversations. I was overjoyed to have 2 people that were able to begin so quickly. And for me, I want to, in athletics, as you all know, you work so much, you work odd hours, you travel, you have hard conversations. And so just getting really good people around me is a massive part of that. And to do that really well, it takes time. It takes giving people chances. They're at good places, everyone that I'm talking to. And so giving them time to work out what's the best thing in their life, for them, for their family, and et cetera.
So, and Erin, when you look at your staff, and you said, and I agree, you have to have a staff that really works well together. So you've talked about that. How do you see it all coming together? Like, who does what, and how do you complement each other, and how do you see yourself running this staff? What is it all together?
Yeah,
the vision.
I think there's a couple places that I'm thinking about that in a way that I'm very confident with is in the gym. We want to make sure we're playing to each other's strengths. So we'll have an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, our third assistant will want to make sure to play to that person's strengths, whether it's skill, some system, what that piece is. Once I know who those people are, we'll be able to make sure we're balancing that out. And then, of course, as I'm sure we'll talk about too, just in the massive space of recruiting, I want our entire staff to be really involved in that space. So, Dan will be our recruiting coordinator. He'll manage kind of the massive amount of information and keeping us organized in that space. Our whole staff is going to be really involved there. I really want to make sure that I've been in staffs where it's one or two people and that's really the main conduit. I want to make sure that that's really broad and that not only the workload, but also getting to know athletes, making sure we divide and conquer in some spaces, whether that's transfers or undergraduates or current athletes, just making sure that we're doing a good job kind of covering all of the bases there. So, of course, we'll have our performance analysts. We'll have a unique set of skills than the coaches that we have on board, helping us analyze the game, not only what we're doing, but what's good out in our conference and in the NCAA, and what are the gaps that Michigan needs to fall into. So I'm excited to get that person on board because they're going to help kind of dictate how we train and how much we train, and looking at load management and lots of different things. So I think that role is going to be key for us as we kind of build a foundation.
So is that person going alongside? So you're talking about how much stress on an athlete, but also is that with analyzing film and that type of thing? Is it all one? So that's like what most colleges are using is a technical coordinator, but you're taking it one step further and making it a performance analyst as one whole.
Yeah. And so I think that nomenclature is really interesting. You know, I think just titles are a kind of a funny thing just in professionals, and working with our national team and looking at the level in which analysts are able to bring things to our game. I think understanding the physical data that also goes into that is huge. And, you know, where our athletes are wearing catapult, we're looking at all sorts of load things to make sure that they're not overuse, or just how are we practicing in games? What is the load in a match versus the load in practice? And how do we kind of hit that target? That's going to be great for us to have that knowledge and be able to look beyond just what is the hitting percentage in this practice. So looking at the performance from all angles, I think is going to be a really exciting thing that we just need to be.
So you're seeing, in a way, your catapult, it gives all that data, and this person's going to analyze that for you, bring all of that plus the together, but the catapult is going to be the one that really is giving you the data that you need.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm excited about, rounding out the staff. And like I said, I'm hoping to have that kind of narrowed here in the next little bit, but I'm definitely looking and making sure I have the right people on board, not just like right now. Although I wish it was yesterday.
Did you know Dan when he was at Illinois, or?
Yes, we met at Illinois. Yes.
Were you guys at the same time almost?
He was just a little bit older, and so played with the men's team there. Yeah. And I've just known him for a really long time, followed his career. Also, it just was really one other thing that's just so great for me, I think. Looking at staff, Dan certainly brings this, Coley certainly brings this, but having elements of what it looks like to be great beyond college. I want to recruit athletes that want to be great in whatever career they want. Certainly Michigan has a great academic base, but also if they want to be on the national team, if they have aspirations to play pro, I want staff that not only embrace that, but have experienced what that looks like either as an athlete or a coach. And Dan has coached, Coley has coached. She worked with our Team USA this past summer. the other staff that I'll bring on and hopefully announce soon has played extensively overseas. So I think that is just it's a really nice way that we can talk about experience. Being with the national team, there's so many athletes that come to that side of the game that just don't know what it's like to play next and what are you aspiring for? And just like our academic center is going to help someone with applying to med school and whatever career they want to go, I think that's the responsibility of our coaching staff to educate and help guide of what's next for the volleyball athlete as well.
That's awesome. Good job. Also, okay, I want to get in because you're thinking about, okay, we've got that set and you're probably, there's so many things and you got in there fairly late. I mean, as far as the hiring process. So,
I know.
So you've had a lot on your plate, but, okay. So then you have to go into your scheduling. And so, I know that was there already a schedule in place? Have you adapted or adjusted that at all? And how have you been?
So Mark Rosen did a really good job of just leaving me some notes. I mean, he's amazing. He left me some notes of what they had kind of planned for, and I think in a really good strategic way. So the commitments that were made are being kept. And I'm excited to kind of head down that road. I do have one weekend still to kind of unravel a little bit, but I think scheduling in general is like doing a jigsaw puzzle with the puzzle pieces flipped upside down. So just don't know necessarily all of the elements to it and what that full picture looks like. So I'm looking forward to just every day someone would call me and like, hey, is this still happening or is that? And even with the amazing breadcrumbs that Mark left, I think there's still things to kind of iron out, and I'm flipping over the pieces every day and it's coming together in a really good way. We're going to be able to
spring set. Is that all?
Spring is close as well. I think there's just one more weekend to finalize there. And that's one that it just, you obviously have some restrictions in proximity and, I think missing school and some other things. So the chances to kind of go outside of that are a little more limited, but we're getting close and I'm excited to bring Michigan volleyball to our fans and alumni.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And you had your first Big Ten coaches meeting yesterday, yes?
Yes, we did. Yeah. It was great to get together with the staff, all the head coaches, and just talk about not only what's coming up this year and how to make things better. We had like just record breaking BTN views, but Big Ten network, but just like what the network is doing, how important the media days were to prepare them for that. So just kind of getting ahead of the season and looking at how we can be really great in this space. And people want to watch volleyball. There isn't a huge appetite for it, not only in the Big Ten, but just nationally. How to get Fox involved as another partner. They had one match that was just over the top viewed. And then of course with ESPN. So I think there's so much excitement around volleyball. In the Big Ten, volleyball was the third most watched sport and close, right up there close with men's basketball. And so I think we just are making a massive push and I'm so excited. The investment the Big Ten is putting in there. And we're also talking just preliminary, but that will come very soon here, is how UCLA and USC entering in, how that kind of shifts things.
Good job.
Yeah. And it will no doubtly just what the conference will look like. Just what travel looks like will be, completely coast to coast and then a lot in the Midwest. And so there's a lot of components to that our schedule, they're like masterminds of schedules are looking at, but those conversations will be here in the next couple months with those head coaches involved, of course.
Right. That's KP.
Well, Kath, I think we're gonna switch over to Mick right now because he's done recruiting forever and always gets the person he's recruiting. So we're going to have him talk a little bit about building this Michigan team.
Okay.
Mick?
Actually, I just have a two-part. I have a comment and then a three-part question. So I'll do this real quick because we're running a little bit.
You better watch out before it's 4.
So the comment is for anybody listening out there that wants to be a head coach, you notice the energy that Jamie Morrison and Erin Virtue have. If you don't have this kind of energy, you don't want to get into this business because this is 24/7, this kind of energy. And particularly appreciate hearing, Erin, you just come out with all of these pieces of information as quickly as you do, and you know it, and you know that you got to get to the next thing. So that's my observation. But we talked about everything from the development of your staff, the whole program, and this. But here's the critical part, your roster. And Bob lied. I wanted Merzik really bad, and she decided to leave before they hired you at Michigan. If I was still coaching, I'd probably still go after her. I loved her when she was 15 and 16 and 17, and I couldn't get her to come to USC to play for anything. She was sold on Michigan, and then between the time the coach left and the new coach was hired, she's out of there along with a couple of other kids. So how are you going to build this roster? Are you going to use the second portal, or are you just going to go with a developmental program? I think this is the critical thing of all of the things we've talked about. We've got to get athletes in the gym. So how are you going to do this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And, just talking about Jess, we wish her luck on her next path. We did have a chance to meet and kind of talk through things. And then also Jess Robinson, both of them just looking for a new change. And I met with them. I actually recruited them both to Michigan, their first time. So that was, 27 years ago. So they were freshmen, and we were able to recruit freshmen at that point. So I organized their first visit to this campus. And so they both knew me, and they both, we have a great relationship, but they're just looking for just another experience. They're both close. They're both from Michigan, and just looking for something different. And I support them in that. And I think that's the path for them. And if it's not 100% here and 100% beyond, behind what we're trying to do here, that's okay. I think that's just going to be part of that. I think we're going to have either transfers come in, new people come in, and then there's going to be people that exit. And to me, I just want the best for them. Honestly, I really mean that with all my heart. We have one other Michigan athlete that's in the portal, currently a 5th year, graduated. Speaking with her, she's still deciding what she wants to do. And then we're looking at a couple others that may right now in this window have already entered the portal before the window closed. And so we're looking at that, certainly. And then certainly admissions guidelines, things that I'm getting up to speed with what Michigan looks like, whether it's grad school or an undergraduate degree. I don't think all admissions processes and, transfers should know that. They're not all created the same. Not all academic windows are created the same. So for Michigan, we'll have someone that's either young, or maybe a graduate student is a little bit easier to get in, even more than a senior and someone with 1 year of undergraduate left, unless they came from somewhere that was maybe a little more academic than Michigan. So that's certainly what we're looking at. We also have 3 coming in the fall or this summer. One from Argentina. So I've gotten to watch a lot of her, an outside hitter. She's an opposite for the Argentina team right now, probably will be more of an outside hitter for Michigan, a setter and a libero. And so that's going to be great. But we also are certainly looking at what will that next transfer window look like? What's the admissions process look like? I think for us, it's going to be honestly not just one place, Mick. It's going to be from a lot of different places to make sure not only we look for who completes our roster, but we are hard at work developing the girls that we have here, the ones that are going to be committed. And the girls at Michigan right now are excited. They're hungry for what that looks like to just develop as they are right now.
So you answered my question that I was going to ask, because you were giving me the philosophy and everything. You do have a setter coming in, and you do have a libero coming in, so we're in pretty good shape to start with. But a lot of people don't know there's another portal opening. Do you expect to find athletes in the second portal opening in the spring? Yeah,
I think you will. I think there's this portal hasn't been such a long thing where we can look at so many trends, but I think for sure you'll find something either with coach departures or as someone's trying to go through the spring. Maybe there's an athlete that wanted to just see how the spring went, to see if they wanted to go another direction, perhaps graduate from their school they're at now and then enter the portal. I think there could be all sorts of reasons you do that. And then it just depends of can you get them into school? That's such a narrow space between a May portal opening and an August, or, if you're on a quarter system, a school starting. So I think that's more of the I guess the fear, if you wait till that point, doesn't mean you can't, but I think the admission window is certainly a lot smaller at that point. But will certainly be something you can look at.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Last question, just real quickly. Give us your day from the time you get up. What time do you get up? When do you leave the office, and when do you hit the bed? Give us a normal day.
Gosh, I don't know. I have a normal day yet, Mick, because I was in Chicago yesterday and now I'm going to be in California moving my things and then recruiting every day. But if I was just in Ann Arbor, it's 6 to 9 at night. Yeah, it's early, up early, getting things. That's the time, honestly, I feel I can be, it's before a lot of other staff get in. And so I'm able, like other, departmental people and other ones that are, asking for things, academics or SAE.
Yeah, just tell the people the number of things that you have to deal with during this time. You're up at 6.
Oh, yeah.
How many different things do you have to deal with?
Oh man, 100 different things.
Just
It's
try
like,
to name
have you
as
ever
many as you
been
can.
like driving down the highway and you see like a paper bag just getting blown around? That's me. That's a new head coach. That's someone that, the bag is flying all over the place and you're trying to be the car, not the wind. So you're just trying to control it and manage the next thing. But there's a lot of things. And then the most important thing of all of this stuff that's swirling around is getting to know my team and training. Like we have to keep the main thing when there's, yes, recruiting massive, hiring a staff massive, somehow finding a place to live. Yes, that's important. There's a lot of things that are big, but I always want to remember I'm hired to be a volleyball coach and really make sure that I'm training this team, because I have to be able to, if I'm recruiting and saying you're going to get better, well, I got to actually put my money where my mouth is and develop these athletes in the gym, watching film with them, meeting with them, getting to know what motivates them. So that is a lot of my day. So that's why I'm up early and here late, because the middle of my day is all about our team.
Erin, thank you so much. You've been really perfect with that. I'm going to let Bob ask the Harbaugh question. Okay.
Great.
All right, Erin, we're talking about building a team. All right. And I'm going to jump into name, image, and likeness.
Great.
All right. NIL is new for all coaches. It's especially new for you coming from the national program.
Yep.
And it, and you're trying to build a team. And of course, this is a component of the recruiting and building a team. What does Michigan's NIL involvement look like? Yeah.
So Michigan has, and this is a new space. So for me, I'm learning a lot. It's a little like drinking through a fire hose, but we have 4 collectives here, which I'm sure the viewers, if they're listening to your show, I'm sure you guys have talked about that, but just some organized boosters, 4 different ones here, different levels of engagement with different sports. Some maybe are mostly interested in football, but there are plenty, I think at least 2 of the 3 are interested in more than just football here on campus, which is exciting. We use a program called Influencer to help us manage that. And it's majority of the Big Ten uses that. The other uses a company called Open Doors, I think. Of the influencer schools, that's mainly where athletes are reporting in and making sure that by law, they report in what they have and the earnings that they have. Even if they get a burrito once a week, a free burrito, they report that and then they can get taxed on those things. Of those schools, Michigan is the number 1 in all athletes. I think what's interesting of the statistics that are coming in with NIL is that it's all about who's reporting it and how can you learn between, now that's half of the Big Ten because we have influencer statistics, but then we don't have the full conference. We definitely don't have the full nation of what that looks like at this point. So there's more, I think, to learn there. Our athletes, what Michigan does great, what I'm learning so far is we have a Victors for Life program, which is not only helping a Victors exchange platform, which we're like, hail to the Victors here, if that doesn't make sense to you, but that's our fight song. So the Victors exchange is where businesses can enter. They can engage with student athletes in any potential partnerships or sponsorships that they would want to have. Our collectives can engage with them in that platform. And then the Victors for Life platform is an educational platform, which is massive. just last week we had, and I just was talking to our athletes who attended, but we had just a tax education. And, I don't think I learned about taxes till like way later. And, I think my dad was doing them in college and it was no big deal. But this is a real thing that athletes need to learn about, and our freshmen need to learn about that and understand what that looks like, and how influencer will kind of wrap those things, all of the different products that they may be working with, into one 1099. And so just being able to kind of work through that is a massive part. And so Michigan Athletics is super supportive of our athletes going into these endeavors. As a head coach of the volleyball program, I am too. We can't facilitate those, of course, but want to engage with those, want to know that these collectives understand that that's something that our program supports, and they want to work with our student athletes, then we're all about it.
Do you see, out of the 3 collectives out of the 4 that are interested in other sports, and hopefully that's volleyball, women's volleyball. Do you see any problems where the collectives overstep the bounds, or is it controlled somewhat by the university, or?
And it's a good question. I think right now there's no limit of what they can provide a student athlete. So there cannot be oversight. They don't work with under our athletic department. So there's not an oversight. They run kind of separately. So I think right now I haven't seen any from the conversations I've had with whether it's our football staff or men's basketball staff, or just any of our NIL staff, that keep working with our athletes. I haven't heard. I think this is new. So it's new even for, places like Michigan that has lots of resources to put toward learning about it and understanding the influence of it. But we're eyes wide open going into that. I think for me, certainly it's a place I'm curious about. I'm interested to learn more how it can help benefit our athletes, and just like, any team, we have 12 scholarships and we'll have more than that number of athletes on our team. And so I want to make sure that we're supporting not just our star athlete, but everyone has an opportunity to be in this space. And so also when that came, there was, also the Alstons was reviewed in the case. And so the way Michigan tackles that is athletes with a GPA above a certain standard, and no matter scholarship not, you have access to more funding, and you have access to more funding in each of the 2 terms, the fall term and the spring term. And then if you attend 4 or more of our educational sessions, which there's hundreds every year, you can receive even more income. So that is a way that Michigan wants to tackle that in an earned space. I think other schools might be tackling that where they can give that in hey, I want this athlete to have it this year, this athlete to have that extra this year. For Michigan volleyball, it's across the board of what that can be for the Alstons. So I'm excited to learn more, but I certainly am not coming in I know this space and I'm not going to pretend I do. I don't know that anyone is, I think it's still quite new. Yeah. So
It's different everywhere.
Well, that's part of the reason why we ask you the question is because I think
You-
there's a lot of viewers that are in the same spot you are. They're
Yeah.
not sure how it's going to look and how does it help us get players on our campus and
Yeah.
help our recruiting and help our athletes, live a better life.
Yeah, I will say, even in the Big Ten meetings yesterday, the inducements of saying to a recruit, hey, we're going to pay you X amount, or you'll make this amount. That type of language is not allowable. And so that's something that here, that's not something we're interested in breaking that legislation. That's very, that's starting to be more and more commonplace of having an inducement out there, and the Big Ten is going to come down hard on that, I think. So that was just kind of reinforced starting in January of just what the inducement to come to a school versus someone that's already signed and at your school is quite a different place. So if there's, any of that happening, that's just good to know that that's unsavory in this new legislation.
But how do they control the collective if they have no control over the collective?
It's just when if you're signed or not signed, that's a very different thing to your school. So whether an athlete receives that, that's still what it used to be of a booster, so I think that's very different than when you're signed to a school. So yes, the enforcement is near impossible, but it's just important to have the education behind it.
I know Bill wants to get back into, asking you a question about yourself, and I'm going to turn it over to Bill here for a minute.
Great. Hi, Bill.
Hello, Katie. How are
Katie,
you?
come on.
I know I had to throw that in there just to
That's my sister.
Yeah.
I know that's your sister, the virtue setting sisters. And I have to tell everybody who's listening, one of my all-time favorite home visits was at the Virtue household. Your mom recruited me better than I recruited you
Hooked
guys.
up a
That's
dinner.
for sure. Yes, she was awesome. She was awesome. So I'm glad to see you back in the Midwest doing what you're born to do.
Yeah.
So here's my question.
Mhm.
USA team, you have announced that you're going to stay on with them through Paris. How the hell do you help the USA team and coach the University of Michigan? You talk about a bag blowing down the road. Give me Forrest Gump. You're a feather in the wind, baby. What's going on?
Yeah. You know what? The thing I know, Bill, is I know I have incredible support from both Karch Cry, who's the head coach of the women's national team, and Ward Manuel, the athletic director here. There are other coaches on this campus that are part of the Olympic movement, either coaches, they are former or current. So they're excited to support that. The biggest part of that is, for me at Michigan, is making sure I'm building, like we talked about with Kathy, I'm building the staff around me that I can work with and talk to them of like the time that I'm not here, understanding what that looks like. So building that calendar out, being as organized as possible. For those that don't know, I did this same dual role for 2 years while I was at Northwestern and USA, not the head coach at Northwestern. So I understand that that's different. So for me, I think Karch had met with our staff. Some of our athletes talked about that. The consistency going into Paris is massive. Alfie Reft, who's the head coach at UCLA, will also be in a similar role. Now that's in Southern California, so a little different. But he and I and Tama Miyashiro, Karch Cry, Marv Dunphy, our staff that's put together with the national team, we're working through what that schedule looks like, tournaments, practice, my life for the next 561 days will be mapped out very, very every single day for that. And it won't be a lot of sleeping, I can guarantee you, but they're missions that I'm really passionate about. And it was such a draw for me to come and take this job at Michigan and just be able to be here, but knowing that that's sacrificing certain pieces of that. And then it was also so important for me to finish what I signed on to do with Karch and the national team through Paris. So if at any point I'm, falling short in either job, both of my bosses understand that we need to have a conversation about that. And honestly, I'm going to probably recognize that before anyone else. The last time I was in this dual space, it was by far the hardest on me than any of the athletes and staff that I worked with. So that is not a fully formed product yet, but I'm really looking forward to getting my whole Michigan staff on board so we can kind of map that out together, meet with both teams, understand what that looks like. The USA season is primarily in the summer. So for looking at what that looks like, for example, the Paris Olympics will end on August 11th, I believe. So just kind of on the heels and then head into the preseason. Certainly not an easy task. I'm not going to pretend that it is. But I want to be able to do my part to continue the continuity with the national team. That also makes me a better coach, to be able to learn from the athletes there and bring that to my team here in Michigan. The athletes here that I've been able to meet with and all of the recruits I've talked to are super excited about supporting that. And again, it's 560 something days that I can make sure to build the foundation. And then I'm not here to be a one-man show anyway. So looking to make sure that we have good leadership from everyone involved is a big key.
I wish you luck because I hope you get to do both because Paris will be awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, it won't
And
be
lastly,
easy, Bill, but I'm excited about it.
Oh, I think you can do it. Lastly, just so you know, we have a relationship that you may or may not be aware of. You're a director of volleyball operations. Her mom went to college with me and her aunt went to college with me.
Wow.
And her dad and her uncle played college basketball with me.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yep, Rod Johnson was the captain of my team my freshman year. That's her uncle.
Wow. Yeah, no, Coley's amazing. She was our team leader for USA this past year. Just killed it. Everyone on our team loves her immediately. She's just a ray of sunshine. So it's so key in that role, I think, administratively, to have someone that is not only just like a young one out of college. This is a job that has a lot of work to do, and someone that manages our alumni network and our camps and our budget and just so many things. So I'm so thrilled to have her on board.
Well, good luck. I hope you do. I hope you get it all done. Get another gold for us. Let's go.
Thank you. I will try.
Sounds great. Well, Katie, Katie, what'd you do to me here now? Erin, so sorry. But Erin, it's awesome to have you here. And it is, I echo what Mick said about, your energy and all that the passion that you can feel coming through the screen. So thanks for everything. We're excited to see you. You're only about an hour away. I might come over and see you one of these days, but congratulations. And we wish you the very best.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you, Erin.
Good luck, Erin.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now. Gosh, I
All
had
right, group. I guess we don't have a buzz reaction today because we're out of time.
Oh gosh, imagine
That's good, because I was going to have a rant.
that.
Well, I think we might need to save that and in our planning meeting on Monday. Let's go ahead and do it then, and then we can put it out on our website for viewers to see. All right.
Also, what's up next week?
Well, actually, we're between the NIL and maybe bringing 2 more coaches on. So I think we'll make that decision here shortly. We do have a couple of people we're in contact with, so it's either going to be our NIL show, or we're going to bring in 2 more new coaches that have just taken positions and talking about their process.